The Lives of the Saints by the Reverend Alban Butler, taken from the 4th edition, published in 1954. October 24th, Saint Proclus, Confessor and Archbishop of Constantinople. Saint Proclus was a native of Constantinople and was very young when he was made a reader of that church. The service of the church did not hinder him from closely following his studies, and he was some time a disciple of St. Chrysostom and his secretary. Atticus ordained him deacon and priest. After his death, many pitched upon Proclus as the fittest person to be placed in that important see, but Sicinius was chosen, who ordained Proclus Archbishop of Cyzicus, metropolis of the Hellespont. The inhabitants of that city, being unwilling to acknowledge the jurisdiction of the Bishop of Constantinople, refused to receive him, and chose Dalmatius, a monk. Proclus therefore continued at Constantinople, where he got a great reputation by his preaching. Upon the demise of Sicinius in 427, many again cast their eyes upon him as the most worthy of that dignity, but others alleged that he had been chosen bishop of another see, and that translations were forbid by the canons. Nestorius, who was raised to that dignity, advanced his errors at first covertly, but at length openly. St. Proclus courageously maintained the truth against him, and in 429 preached a sermon, which is the first among his printed homilies, to show that the Blessed Virgin ought to be styled the Mother of God. Nestorius, who was present, publicly contradicted him in the church. When that heresiarch was deposed in 431, Maximian was chosen to succeed him, those that were for St. Proclus being overruled by the above-mentioned exception. But after Maximian's death in 434, the saint, who had never been able to take possession of the see of Cyzicus, was promoted to that of Constantinople. The mildness with which he treated even the most obstinate among the Nestorians, Arians, and other heretics was a distinguishing part of his character, though he strenuously supported the Catholic faith, and kept a correspondence, and lived in close union and friendship with the Pope, St. Cyril of Alexandria, and John of Antioch. The style of this father is concise, sententious, and full of lively wit, turns more proper to please and delight than to move the heart. This sort of composition requires much pains and study, and though this father was mighty successful in his way, it is not to be compared to the easy natural gravity of St. Basil, or the sweet style of St. Chrysostom. The first part of the year 447 is memorable for a dreadful earthquake, which was felt from place to place during 6 months in diverse parts of Egypt and the East, especially near the Hellespont, and in Bithynia, in Phrygia, and at Antioch in Syria. The earth shook like a ship abandoned to the mercy of the winds, and tossed by the fury of waves worked up by a storm. Amidst the ruins of many stately buildings, men ran to and fro, almost distracted with fear and horror, not being able to find any place of refuge or security. St. Proclus with his clergy followed his scattered flock, and ceased not to comfort and exhort them amidst their afflictions, and to implore the divine mercy with them. The people continually answered by a triple repetition of this prayer: "Have mercy on us, O Lord." Theophanes and other Greek historians tell us that a child was taken up into the air, and heard angels singing the Trisagion, or triple doxology, which gave occasion to St. Proclus to teach the people to sing it in these words: "Holy God, holy strong, holy immortal, have mercy on us." It is at least agreed that St. Proclus with the people used this prayer, and that thereupon the earthquake ceased. The Trisagion was inserted by him in the divine office, which the Greek Church uses to this day. The Orientals ascribe to St. Proclus the last revision of the liturgies both of St. Chrysostom, or of the Church of Constantinople, and of St. James, or of the Church of Jerusalem. Our saint is styled, by St. Cyril, a man full of piety, perfectly skilled in ecclesiastical discipline, and a strict observer of the canons. Pope Sixtus III gives him the like praises, and Vigilius calls him the most learned of prelates. St. Proclus died on the 24th of October in 447, the same year in which the earthquakes had happened. His name is placed in the Greek Menologies and in the Muscovite calendar. How many great, how many learned, how many once holy men have with Nestorius suffered shipwreck before the end of their course? At the sight of such examples, who does not tremble for himself? If we know ourselves, we shall be persuaded that no one is weaker and frailer than we are. When, therefore, we read of the fall or sins of others, we ought to turn our eyes upon ourselves, to adore the divine mercy which is still born with us, and is yet ready with stretched forth arms to embrace us, to shake off our sloth in the practice of virtue, enter upon a fervent penitential life, and without ceasing call upon God in fear and humility. He is our strength and support, who is almighty and most willing and desirous to save us, if our willful wretchedness and pride stand not in the way.